Hello, everyone. This is your host, Shanul Malik with Belmont Journal's News Now. We are meeting today two fabulous and powerful women representing the town of Belmont for two very important causes. First, I have the new elected chair for the Belmont Human Rights Commission, Kim Haley Jackson, joining us. Welcome, Kim.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
And then later we will be talking with Catherine Bonfilio with Belmont Against Racism. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Starting with you, Kim, tell us a little bit about the Human Rights Commission, what the organization is about, its mission, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Happy to talk about the BHRC. So the Belmont Human Rights Commission was originally spun off from Belmont Against Racism. We became an independent group probably around in the early 2000s. So our mission is to bring human rights awareness to the town of Belmont. And what does that mean? So I think that a lot of people equate human rights with generally gender or race, right? But human rights encompasses everyone. It's gender, it's race, it's religion, it's age, it employment, it runs the gamut, housing. So we are an official town organization, which means we operate under the town of Belmont and work very closely with the select board and the schools.
And if I'm understanding it correct, it's chosen by the select board. And you're not running for it. You are being chosen by the select board to be on this.
Correct. So currently, I'm happy to be here today to talk about, we have 4 new spots open for the commission. So we are happy to have people join to become a new member. Mm-hmm. You would apply on the town website under the volunteer dropdown, and those are, reviewed, and the select board would appoint you to that position. And we are happy to have people come on board. Mm-hmm. And also not only as members, but volunteers as well.
Mm-hmm. And when they are doing this application, Kim, is there some kind of a bio, or what are they putting in that application?
Sure. So you can put your interest. We aren't looking for anything in particular for people on the board, but, a lot of folks submit their resumes. I did that as well. But you can kind of talk about your interest, why you would want to join the Belmont Human Rights Commission. Again, we are embedded in, every facet of town life. So we welcome all comers. Mm-hmm. We're especially interested, we're really embedded in the schools, and we have, a great working relationship with the school administration and the town. We're also looking to get further into the community to work with housing. The folks in housing, in order to make sure people's needs are being met, our aging population, to make sure their voices are heard, people who are differently abled, mm-hmm. Often don't have a voice within town, or they feel a little hidden. So we'd love to have people of all kinds come out and support us, and in turn we will support you.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And how big is the organization? How many people are on the board?
So currently, we operate generally between 9 and 11 members. Mm-hmm. We do have people who come in and out as volunteers again. So, if you don't feel like you have that commitment, so we generally meet, once a month. Occasionally we may have a special meeting or two, but we've become very active within the community over the past few years. And so I was happy to be part of that growth in the organization.
So if someone is interested in joining and sees that they align themselves to this, the goals of the board, how might they be able to contribute? Like, if you were to give me a cross section of how meetings are typically run, and how can someone bring their skills, because people can do so many different things in so many ways, and sure. Often I find that people think, well, I don't know what could I do? I have no experience in that, while we know that their daily skill sets could come in handy for an organization like yours. So if you don't mind sharing that would be a good pitch for the town residents to hopefully apply for these positions.
Sure. So I would say, honestly, anyone who would have a passion for equality or wanting to learn more about equality. I really wouldn't want to pigeonhole it because everyone has a different gift that they would bring in different experiences.
Mhm.
If people have a professional background, it's helpful sometimes for us, if it's specifically like looking at like legal issues, maybe we don't get those a lot, but it's always nice to have like a touchstone person who has like a background in mental health, in housing.
Mhm.
Sometimes people find themselves in employment situations.
Mhm.
So, a legal background is helpful, but not required. We kind of, we have good resources here in Belmont. So a willingness to do good work
Mhm.
uh, for the community really is what we're looking for.
Mhm.
Um, we take on anyone who's interested. So.
Mhm. And you also mentioned that you work closely with the school district.
Mhm. We do.
Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So we have liaisons from various schools join meetings. A couple on the Chenery will come probably around like once a month if something occurs, right? So they will give us a report on what's going on at the Chenery. We've had high school liaisons come through. A few grade school teachers have come in. Um, so that's helpful to kind of give us an idea on what's going on. We also meet with the school administration with John Phelan once a month and talk to him about what's going on. We have a very close working relationship with Chantel Washington, the diversity director of Belmont Public Schools. We meet with her often. She communicates with us when issues come through to see if we can be of assistance. And we, in turn, if we are,
Mhm.
because we're under the laws of confidentiality due to our being appointed by the select board, if anything comes through, we share that with her if it's related to school.
Thank you so much, Kim. I do know you have a hard stop. So on that note, I do want to invite Catherine Bonfiglio to talk and represent Belmont Against Racism. And thank you so much, Kim, for joining us. If you can stay around, that's great. If not, thank you so much for coming to the show, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Before
Kim.
I go, I'd like to give our website, or
Please.
sorry, our email address. It
Mhm.
is belmont.hrc@gmail.com.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you. Good evening,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Good evening, Kim. She's fabulous.
Thank you for joining us, Catherine.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your mission, Belmont Against Racism, your role in it, and I'm also curious how Belmont Against Racism and if you and the Human Rights Commission collaborate, and do you guys meet often or these are separate meetings?
Oh, thank you. First, thank you, Chanel, for allowing us to have a few minutes with you. We appreciate all that Belmont Media does and believes in the importance of local journalism to keep our democracy alive. So Belmont Against Racism, or BAR as we're known locally, people often just use the BAR. We joke that we were the first bar in Belmont because it was a dry town when we started. But anyway, the BAR was established 30 years ago. After the verdict of Rodney King was with the beating in Los Angeles, and the model of think globally, act locally. And many of us have been involved in the organization almost since the inception. So we're looking for people to take it into the next 30 years because we won't be here. So BAR is an all-volunteer nonprofit. And our mission is to foster dialogue, awareness, and understanding of institutional racism, address problems of injustice, however manifested, and promote equity and inclusion, in many ways parallel to the Human Rights Commission. In 2000, BAR's partner program, the LGBTQ Plus Alliance, was established. They're under our umbrella, and I think recently people may have participated in the Pride Parade or seen the Transgender Day of Awareness. All of those are under the Alliance, and they do great work. So BAR's work includes educating along our mission with programs and speakers, as well as supporting grants in the community and schools. So we're a grant organization. Just in the past 5 years alone, we have provided $57,600 in funding in grants programs for the community and for schools. And we thank our supporters for providing that. And you asked about collaboration. That is actually one of the main things that we do is we collaborate with town and other organizations. So we have co-sponsored programs with the Media Center many times, the Belmont Human Rights Coalition. We have worked in tandem with them, particularly around the Martin Luther King breakfast. We used to run that. We've given it over to the Belmont Human Rights Commission, but we have financially supported the speakers because they don't have any funding currently. With the Belmont Public Library, including One Book, One Belmont, the public schools, the Belmont Housing Trust, we did a program with them, the Belmont Religious Council, Belmont Books, Belmont Willett's Friends, the Pan Asian Coalition, the Chinese Association, the League of Women Voters, and you can see, and others. So we've been around a long time, so we are a known entity. And last year we partnered with the town itself to bring the first Indigenous Peoples Day celebration.
Wow, that's a very a long list and a very impressive list indeed. And are you also looking for people to, you mentioned, take it to the next 30 years?
Yes. Yes, I want to add one more thing that we do because it's pretty important. We have the Metco we have a Metco support fund because we have the Metco program here in Belmont. And so one of our main fundraising missions, and that's what we would want some new members to help with as well, is to get funding for the Metco support fund. And that gives after-school transportation to kids who are staying in after-school activities, scholarships to class trips or other programs. There's a Metco leadership conference we support, and programs across the schools that help to, make sure that our Boston students have the same activities and opportunities as our local students. And one other group we have partnered with, or we have dialogue with, is the Belmont Police Department. We're part of a group called Beyond Ferguson, which comes out of the Unitarian Church Social Action Committee. We meet monthly, and BAR is part of that, and the Belmont Police Department. And we've been doing that really since Ferguson. So what is that, 2000? What was that? Anyway, it's been a long time. So we have been doing that. So that's what. And yes, we are looking for some new folks, just like the HRC is. And you can find us through belmontagainstracism.org, or we have an email at belmontagainstracism@gmail.com. But you can either join as a member, as a general member, and we have about 650 people on our listserv, but probably about 250 paying members. We have a minimum dues of $35. And you could just join and attend our meetings. They're usually monthly, often the second Thursday of the month. But we're also looking for some people to step into some leadership positions. So if people are interested, they can contact us and we'd be happy to talk with them.
And are there any particular number of spots you are looking to fill, or is this just like a plug-in for getting new?
What we're hoping to do is to, over the next year or two, bring in some new folks who can sort of follow and model, the folks who are like myself, who are older, and then see where the organization can go from there. So yes, we are looking for some folks to help take over some of the leadership positions.
And that would be my last question. You've been involved in this for 30 years, you said?
I have not been there for 30 years. We do have one member, Mike Collins, who is one of the originators of the organization, and he has been with us for 30 years. I joined in, I think, the late 1990s at some point. First, just kind of as a member, and then on the board.
That's significant enough time, and I was curious to hear from you, to reflect and share with us how the town has changed. For better, for worse, neutral, and what your hope is for this beautiful town of ours.
So absolutely, it has changed, and to me, completely for the better. Certainly, one of the richest things is just the influx of ethnically and racially diverse people, and that's been fantastic. When I first moved to the town in 1984, it was, I think, predominantly a white town. As we well know now, we have a large Asian population and growing numbers of other ethnic and racial folks, which is fantastic. I also think that people who are embracing the ideas of equity and inclusion have grown also exponentially, and we're seeing a lot of that happen as well. So those are the pluses. I'm seeing a lot of interest in this. There was a time when we felt that the issue of racism was really not on a lot of people's minds, and even though it was still a problem. And I think, I really think Trayvon Martin's changed a lot of that. Mm-hmm. And it's been good to see people really think, and of course, George Floyd in recent years. So it's been good to see, especially since we started with Rodney King, it was all these parallels. So, I think there is just a greater understanding. Unfortunately, across the country, we're seeing a blowback. I feel very happy that we live here in Belmont. Our town, most of our town folks, we have an active HRC, which is great. The police chief has been very helpful and open-minded in a lot of our work with him. So I think we're a lucky town in many ways. The select board did appoint the diversity task force, and they're planning on having an implementation committee. So that's huge. For what I hope for, you asked me, is I would like to see the town have a DEI director, just like the schools do.
And that's an interesting observation, because that seems to be the norm and the trend. Is there a reason why, or like if you were to think about what might be the reasons that might be hindering the process here in our town?
Well, I think it's a fairly new idea. I also am on a coalition called the Massachusetts Human Rights Coalition, and many towns do not have DEI directors, and some of them don't even have HRCs. So at least
Belmont has done.
So in that way, Belmont's okay. But there are towns that are getting DEI directors, and I think it really can help as you look towards hiring. What you want is for people to feel like they belong. And if you go into a town office and there's no one that looks like you, and one of the things we saw with the equity audit is there's students who don't feel like they belong here, and that's heartbreaking. And so what you want a community to say is, we embrace all of you, whoever you are, whoever you love, whatever your abilities are, whatever your age is, whatever your ethnicity, whatever your race, whatever your gender, all of those things, you want to feel like everyone feels like they belong. And yes. That's what's important.
I would love to hear from you. When do you meet and how often do you meet? And if there is a website where our viewers can go and learn more about BAR.
Thanks for that question. So we generally meet the second Thursday of every month, but not in the summer. People can check our website because our meeting dates do change. Our website is www.belmontagainstracism.org. And our email is belmontagainstracism@gmail.com. So we really encourage people to join our meetings. Sometimes we have programs that are of interest with local speakers.
Thank you for sharing that history and your hopes for the organization. And we are lucky to live in this beautiful town, and wishing you all the best for the organization.
Thank you. And thank you so much.
That's today again, Catherine. Hope to see you soon.
Yes, thank you, Janil. Thank you for your time.
This is your host, Shonul Malik, signing off. I'll see you next time. Thank you.